Welcome back. I hope you had a good lunch, and I hope your after lunch dip is not too bad, and otherwise take a nap. I hope to keep you awake. As Tim said, my name is Annet Steenbergen, and I am an independent advisor on digital identity, digital wallets, and travel. And I am also taking part, like Andrew is, in the EU Digital Identity Wallet Consortium. And very much enjoy that because there's a lot of development going on in this space. I will talk specifically about travel because that is my expertise and background, and I want to talk to you about several developments that are really crucial in this area that are going on, and that we will see result in question mark, 2 question marks, 2 years time, 2 years time EUDI wallet for sure. But on a global level, we have some other question marks. There is more going on. Hopefully, we have a wonderful interoperable world where we can travel with a trusted digital identity in a self-sovereign manner and only share the data that you need to share and the other person or the other party is allowed to have. That would be wonderful. Some of you traveled here, some of you live in the UK. If you travel, you use your passport, which is given to you by the government. If you look in the passport, it usually says property of the government of the Netherlands, it says in my passport, to vouch for who you are. There's a standard for passports that the Traveler Identification Program at ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, sets, DOC 9303, in order for other countries to check, verify whether or not a passport they receive from a person who wants to enter a country is correct. So passports are crucial. Also, you check into a hotel, check into a cruise line, anything to identify yourself in another country is your passport. So passports are crucial if we talk about digital identity in travel. But if you travel regionally, nationally, there is another identification usually. In the EU, we can travel with our identity card, European identity card. We cannot travel with our driver's license. We can identify ourselves with a driver's license, for instance, in the Netherlands. We use that a lot. But we cannot travel to another country with our identity card. In the US, you travel with your driver's license. Within the US, and I think even to Canada, if I'm correct. Not too long ago, you could even travel with your birth certificate, I know, to Aruba. Thank God we don't do that anymore, but that was another means of identification. And of course, in regional, like the EU is regional, you have other regional supranational corporations like the CARICOM, where that just having that on your passport, that attribute as part of your identity makes that you can travel within that region and probably do business and live there. So we're going to digitize the way we travel, the way we identify when we travel. And travel is identity. It's all about identity. And that is often because you have to comply with regulations to identify yourself when you're in another country. Why do we need to identify ourselves? Now, there's many reasons, and there are 2 main reasons. One is security, and the other one is passenger experience and all that comes with it. And if you work on a very good setup to use a digital identity, you will be able to reach both. Quickly go over it. Of course, safety and security at the border, between the stakeholders to have a similar and exact use of the same data without typos. Very important for security, for admin, for efficiency. We need to do more with biometrics when we travel because we don't want to stand in line. We want to have a walking pace experience. Whether it's a border or a boarding gate or coming back on board a cruise liner, we all need to speed things up. Now, two very important developments in the world of travel and digital identity are the ICAO DTC, the International Civil Aviation Organization Digital Travel Credential, and the EU DI Wallet. But I would like to recognize that, of course, India is doing the DigiYatra, which is a digital identity to travel within India with a digital identity. And in the US, the mobile driver's license is really picking up for travel within the US. And I'm very excited to hear that there I go again. Bhutan is looking at travel use case as well. Very exciting, lots of opportunity. But these two are, at a large scale, very important. The first one, because it is a global standard. It is a standard basically for the passport, but then in a digital version. Basically, it's a digital file of your passport. There will be three types. One, the specifications have been published, which is the ICAO DTC Type 1. It's the virtual component, and it is self-derived. It literally can be self-derived with the right application on your mobile device. Your passport has to be an e-passport, so there has to be a chip on there. And with the chip and NFC technology, your mobile device, you can derive a DTC and share that, for example, in advance to check in for a flight, and so make sure that the airline is complying with the passport data they need to receive. Check or send it in advance to another country to get your visa with a high level of assurance, verifying who you are. Type 1 is out there, and the specifications are there. The first pilots are being done. The EU is piloting this. It's DG Home that is doing several pilots, has done several pilots, and I'm sure will continue with this. It's a really important one. I'll quickly go into type 2, which is authority derived, which means it'll be issued on your phone by the authority. And 1 and 2, you need to be in possession of your physical document. So you need to have the passport still there. That's a very important part. Type 3 is basically only virtual. So it's only on your device. That's the final stage. There are some issues with this. Fantastic. It can be authenticated by state-controlled PKD. It contains the identity information, not yet visa, etc. And it is a global standard. So that is extremely important. But the use case is border control. Selective disclosure is only possible on data groups. And so data group 1, for instance, is basically your biographical page. So too much information in many cases. And while we have the specifications for the DTC Type 1, there is not enough legislation out there just yet. But the more we trial, the more we use it, the more it's picking up. Then for the EUDI Digital Wallet, I copied this from the EU evangelization deck because that's what they aim, what the Commission aims for travel, which is quite ambitious, I think, and I'm very happy that it's quite ambitious because it says store your visa, passport, other travel documents in your wallet, which could mean from passport to boarding card to train tickets, etc. So that is very exciting news. It also means that the DTC and the EUDI wallet have to meet somewhere, and something has to happen. So this is absolutely something that is being discussed and talked about. How this will exactly point out, we don't know yet. And one of the issues is that we use our passport in many instances with private parties and then share too much. And you have to do it to comply. If you check into a hotel, you give your passport. And the old-fashioned way, they make copies, and they have files and files and files and files of copies. Nowadays, I checked into Airbnbs last year, traveling around the south of Spain. I had to send several times of all my family members copies digitally on an email, via email, copies of the passports of everybody. And now it's stored on some server in somebody's email. And you have to, because they say you have to, you cannot come if you don't do that, you have to comply. So it would be wonderful if we can still share the fact that it is you and it is derived from a DTC, but it's just your name and your passport number. And then they would comply and they would not need anything more. And it would be a great data minimization to be achieved. So the EU Digital Identity Wallet Consortium is, as Andy already pointed out, we're doing the travel use case. That's why I'm involved and very excited about it, because there's a lot to be gained. And what I like especially, and I've been involved in quite a number of innovation projects, this one is very holistic. So it's not just getting that passenger process in order, but it's looking at much more. And even outside, of course, because that's outside the travel realm, because that is what the EUDI wallet is all about. So we're going to do we are already in the process of performing large-scale pilots, and quite ambitious in what we want to pilot. It may seem simple, but in the world of travel, these are very crucial processes that need simplification, data minimization, and would be greatly helped with the use of a wallet. Firstly, the advanced passenger information data filling. API is, for most of you, probably not what API is to me. To me, it's advanced passenger information. It is in the world of aviation a standard that most countries ask. The reason it came about is simply it's a Security Council resolution. It's about countering transnational organized crime and terrorism. And so before an aircraft takes off, they have to comply with the country they're going to fly to and send the passenger list in a certain order. And this has to be from the passport data. Now, very often you're asked to send that data before you check in, and you can make a typo. And then we have a problem, because when you arrive, they check it when you hand over your document, and then it doesn't match. And it has all kinds of issues. So already the fact that you have to put it in is a hassle, or that the agent at the airline will just swipe it. But then what is the level of the check, whether the document is correct and it belongs to you? You know, how do you bind the holder to the document without using biometrics and technology? So that's a really important large-scale, really important pilot we're doing. Hotel guest registration filling, I just explained how important that is. Not sending your copies, just giving the information, but verified and from the required document. Ferry tickets for students, this is not about passport, this is about showing the credential that you are a student. That's what it's all about. Probably you don't have to identify yourself, you just have to show you're a student. The Buddha Castle age entry verification means, I think it's under 18, you get in for free, if I'm correct. Yeah, I get a nod, thanks. So again, zero knowledge proof, that's all you need to share. Passenger identification at the airport, a very important one that takes time, that forms queues. Another reason, if we can speed things up and make it more secure and more fun for the passenger by digitizing it, that's another great aspect. And then the PNR, that's the passenger name record that governments need to have access to. It's another one of those regulations. So very excited about this because they seem simple but are crucial, and once we get that first step in, the door will open to much more. But as I said, it's holistic, so we're doing payment and organizational digital identity as well. So that's why I'm really looking forward to the outcomes of this. But at the same time, this space is developing, moving. We have the ICAO DTC. The wallet will be there in 2 years. But if we talk about travel, we cannot talk about only within the EU. We talk about crossing borders, flying to Bhutan. When will I be able to use my wallet there? Because, of course, you have to be on a trust list in the EU to be able to be a relying party or within and use the EUDI wallet. So how will we do this with travel? This is not sure yet. We're not clear on what will happen yet. And this is why I have a few points written out that what will happen? Because when we travel nationally, regionally, or internationally, it means we are complying with regulations and adjusting to other jurisdictions. And often you don't know which one you have to comply to. You don't know the regulation of the country where you are. You just, you do whatever they say, right? Because you're in another country. But how will we get all the technical standards and legal standards ready to be really interoperable globally? When will we have ICAO DTC Type 2 and 3? I think Type 2 could be really fast if we do it in the wallet, because then we have connected to the PIT. The PIT is the personal identity data, which is basically the anchor in the EUDI wallet. It's issued to you by the government, so it's a very high level of assurance. And that PIT is, as the EUDI wallet is issued to me by the government, my identity data. When will it be trusted outside of the EU? How will we get there? Because if I can open a bank account, when in the Netherlands, I can open a bank account in Spain using my EUDI wallet, it's quite a high level of assurance and a high level of trust for your KYC. So why not open a bank account in Bhutan with that, if we have that trust? How do we solve the issue with the DTC and the selective disclosure? There are some, IATA did a very interesting POC with an e-passport credential. That could be interesting. Make a separate credential, enter the DTC, and then apply selective disclosure. There's a lot of thoughts around what can be done. And, but there is some glimpse of possibly the future. We need to have treaties. This is not a treaty. This is a memorandum of cooperation, an MOC. And this is great news. If Japan and the EU start working on digital identity and maybe become reciprocal in recognizing each other's digital identity, what can be next? That is a great benchmark cooperation. So an evolving space, and one to keep your eye on, I think. And within 2 years, we will be reporting back on our large-scale pilots and what we've achieved there. So thank you. If there's a question? You can handle one question.
I'll have to go to both of you. I'll go to Angie first and then you.
Annette, one point that you didn't touch on is the elephant in the room with respect to travel, particularly around Europe, which is EES. Do you have a view as to how the picture that you've just painted of how things might evolve would interact with EES? Sorry, for those who don't know, it's the entry-exit system, which is going to lead to 2-kilometre queues for anyone trying to catch Eurostarts and Pancras.
For third country nationals.
For third country nationals.
So not for the EU, not for EU citizens.
Thank you, Annette, for those of us who are British.
I know, I'm very sorry, but this is, I mean, the EUDI wallet will hopefully make it easier for EU citizens to travel in and out of the EU. But for third country nationals, indeed. But that's not, they're not, for me, it's not an elephant in the room. It's a different, it's different altogether. It's about how do we, it's how do we create interoperability and how do we work on that? And then hopefully we can recognize and have recognize other wallets and especially receive a DTC before you travel, and make it easier when you consent to hopefully have a smoother entry into the EU for certain nationalities. I would be all for that, and EAS will be a big problem, but could be discussed in another room. Yeah, but a great question, because this is a big issue.
One more very quick.
Quick answer on that.
Oh dear, I don't know if this is a very quick question, but hi, my name's Mary Camacho, and I'm curious in all the conversations that are happening with what's being called the identity wallet. Are there concerns that are like you're going from passport, which is a functional thing, to identity? And identity is a social construct, and I'm actually not hearing anybody speak about this, and I know we're in a technical space, but is this coming up anywhere in any of the policy, any of the working groups, any of the places where people are talking, that we're actually making this about something that it's not?
It's not technical for me. This is about regulation. And no,
I know, but I'm talking about the policy writers too.
yes, and so no. Why I'm saying this is because, okay, quickly go back. I was involved in IATA One ID for a long time, before it was called One ID, and we were thinking of calling it One Identity. And I said, let's not do that, because identity is something completely different. Go for ID, because your ID is your ID, and people know that they refer to it as a card. And in this case, it is given to you by the EUDI wallet. It's given to you by a government, and this is very different. In Europe, it's very normal to. We have a different civil registration. We had Napoleon, so we have a different relationship. So, okay, yeah, so we have a different relationship in that respect. So it's not so much my identity. I think we will use it as your ID, if I can make that comparison. I know. That's called, you're completely right there. It's called digital identity wallet, yes. But then in a legal way, you can't say ID, right? Yeah. But it's an interesting question.
Social scientists in the room saying, I'm worried about our grandchildren and how they relate to themselves as human beings in society, because the way we're talking about stuff that is technical and conflating something that's not.
If it may put you at ease, when we travel, I foresee that for the next 10, 15, maybe 20 years, we will have a physical document in our hands. When we move across borders, we will use the NFC technology. They may not know how to open it anymore, your grandchildren, but they will probably have it in their hand. So I don't foresee us going away with any physical documents on that anytime soon.
Okay, thank you so
Thanks.
much.